The observations flowing from Hawaii's Gemini Observatory north have unveiled something that transforms the entire Three-Eye Atlas mystery into territory far more unsettling than previously imagined. Fresh data suggests this interstellar traveler might not be journeying through the cosmic void alone. Multiple smaller objects appear to be accompanying the primary body, each one following a trajectory that stays remarkably close to Three-Eye Atlas itself. These aren't faint smudges caused by optical distortion or lens artifacts. We're looking at discrete confirmed points of light, moving together through the void between worlds with a precision that defies casual explanation. Now, as scientists, we exercise extreme caution before drawing conclusions. We exhaust every mundane explanation first. Could these companions simply be fragments? Pieces that broke away from the main nucleus as solar heating increased during its approach? That's certainly possible. But here's what troubles us deeply. If fragmentation were responsible, we would expect to see chaotic dispersion patterns, debris trails spreading outward in random directions, irregular tumbling motions characteristic of natural breakup. Instead, what we observe appears coherent, stable, and disturbingly organized in its movement. The precision is almost surgical. Amateur astronomers worldwide have independently verified this same phenomenon, lending credibility to observations that institutional science has been oddly reluctant to confirm. Stefan Burns posted a time-lapse sequence online showing several luminous points traveling alongside Three-Eye Atlas with synchronized motion. A German observer using the Handle Night Monkey identified multiple distinct trajectories, each one maintaining uncanny precision relative to the primary object. Another researcher, Alexander Flum, noticed something equally strange at the 30-second mark of his recording. A brief green flash, a diffused glow clearly separate from the main body and definitely not a camera malfunction. That mysterious green coloration represents yet another layer of this enigma that demands explanation. Comets typically appear green because dicarbon molecules, specifically C2, fluoresce under ultraviolet sunlight. But spectroscopic analysis from Chile's Very Large Telescope reveals that Three-Eye Atlas is severely depleted in these carbon chains. These are fragile constructs, essentially dirty snowballs composed of frozen ices and loosely bound dust particles that fracture easily under solar heating or gravitational stress. A hollow comet racing through space at speeds exceeding 100,000 miles per hour should have torn itself apart long ago from sheer structural instability. Yet here, it remains completely intact. It even withstood a coronal mass ejection earlier this month, a direct bombardment of charged solar plasma that by all rights should have shredded it into fragments. Something about its internal architecture, its remarkable resilience, refuses to conform to the ordinary laws of thermodynamics we've relied upon for centuries. Now imagine this possibility. What if that hollow nature isn't accidental but intentional? If an object were deliberately constructed, rather than naturally accreted, hollowing out the interior would make perfect engineering sense. It dramatically reduces overall mass while protecting sensitive internal components from radiation and impact damage. It also provides rotational stability that tumbling natural objects never achieve. And if the construction materials were exotic, perhaps elements or compounds beyond our periodic table, that would elegantly explain why the gravitational signature registers so much weaker than expected. To be absolutely clear, this isn't definitive proof of technological origin, but it represents a whisper from the cosmos itself, suggesting that our rigid definitions separating natural from artificial phenomena may require fundamental updating. NASA's Neil Gehrels Swift Observatory has contributed yet another puzzling piece to this mystery. Three-Eye Atlas is actively venting water vapor at a distance where conventional comets should remain completely dormant. We're measuring roughly 88 pounds of water per second at 3 astronomical units from the Sun. Most comets don't activate their outgassing until they venture much closer to solar heat. Why is this visitor releasing water so early in its approach? And why does that emission rate remain so unnervingly consistent? The implication becomes unavoidable. Its internal structure, whether hollow or perhaps extensively porous throughout, appears to be channeling thermal energy in ways we've simply never observed before. Meanwhile, those Gemini images continue suggesting that multiple smaller companions travel in synchronized formation as if guided by some invisible organizing principle we don't yet comprehend. If these represent fragments naturally broken away, they demonstrate remarkable stability for debris. But if they're not fragments at all, if we're actually observing discrete entities traveling together with deliberate coordination, then we're witnessing behavior that transcends everything we thought we knew about interstellar debris dynamics. And here, we arrive at the truly uncomfortable question we must confront. If these accompanying bodies genuinely represent companions traveling alongside 3I Atlas, could they possibly be probes? Is it conceivable that what we're observing isn't simply one comet, but rather a convoy moving in deliberate interstellar formation, crossing through our solar system for purposes we cannot yet comprehend? As a physicist, my natural instinct pushes me toward resisting sensational conclusions, but I'm also a student of scientific history. Galileo was once instructed to ignore the moons orbiting Jupiter because, according to the established wisdom of his time, they simply couldn't exist. Throughout human history, every single time we've encountered the truly unknown, our first collective reaction has been outright denial. The second reaction, emerging more slowly, has been profound wonder. Right now, we find ourselves suspended in that narrow, uncomfortable space between these two responses. Equally troubling is the conspicuous silence emanating from official channels. NASA, the European Space Agency, even China's Tianwen mission all possess instruments that were perfectly positioned to gather high-resolution observational data during 3I Atlas's recent close approach to Mars. Yet somehow the scientific results remain unpublished. The data unquestionably exists. The telescopes functioned correctly, but the information pipeline has gone strangely, inexplicably quiet. This pattern isn't without historical precedent. When Oumuamua entered our solar system back in 2017, certain spectroscopic analyses and radar measurements were withheld from public release for months. When Borisov arrived in 2019, we witnessed the identical delay occurring again. And now, as 3I Atlas sweeps past Mars, history appears to be repeating itself with disturbing consistency. In our current age of instantaneous global communication, silence itself becomes a kind of signal, a message conveyed through conspicuous absence. Perhaps the delay stems from purely bureaucratic causes, a government shutdown, an instrument calibration issue, or simply cautious institutional vetting of extraordinary data before public release. But the coincidence becomes increasingly difficult to ignore. Each time an interstellar visitor challenges our fundamental expectations about how nature operates, the flow of information mysteriously tightens like a valve being gradually closed. To me, as someone who has spent a lifetime in science, this doesn't represent conspiracy in the traditional sense. It represents something more human and more understandable. It's fear. Fear of public misunderstanding. Fear of premature speculation spiraling out of control. Fear of confronting something genuinely extraordinary that doesn't fit comfortably within our existing frameworks. But science simply cannot progress if we permit fear to dictate the boundaries of our curiosity. If this object ultimately proves natural, we will learn profound lessons from studying it. But if it's not natural, if our observations are leading us towards something more significant, then we've stumbled upon a discovery that transcends astronomy itself and touches the very question of whether we're truly alone in this vast cosmic arena. Even statistically, as Carl Sagan himself points out, there simply shouldn't be sufficient rocky material drifting through interstellar space to deliver objects of this magnitude to our solar system through random chance once every decade. The odds fundamentally defy the inventory of known cosmic matter catalogued across our observable universe. The mathematics itself has begun whispering that something else is happening here. Something deliberate, or at minimum, something organized by principles we haven't yet grasped. Now ask yourself this profound question. If 3I Atlas genuinely carries multiple accompanying bodies traveling in formation, if these companions aren't merely fragments, but coordinated travelers, what does that reality imply about the universe surrounding us? We've long operated under the assumption that humanity represents the explorer, that we're the ones casting our instruments into cosmic darkness, searching for others. But what if the truth runs deeper? What if we are actually the observed? What if our act of finally looking upward with sophisticated enough technology has allowed us to notice something that's been quietly watching all along? As a theoretical physicist, I don't see this possibility as a crisis of belief requiring denial or fear. I see it as an invitation to fundamentally expand the framework of science itself. Every anomaly carries a message disguised within its strangeness. Every irregularity represents a question we simply haven't yet learned to formulate properly. The implications cascade outward like ripples across still water. If we're genuinely observing a coordinated formation of objects moving through our solar system with apparent purpose, then we must reconsider everything we thought we understood about the nature of interstellar travel, about the distribution of intelligence throughout the cosmos, about our own place in the grand scheme of celestial mechanics. Life Doubts has been tracking these developments closely, and the channel's community of observers has contributed invaluable insights to this unfolding narrative. The collective intelligence of amateur astronomers, professional researchers, and curious minds worldwide has created a network of observation that no single institution could replicate. This democratization of astronomical discovery represents one of the most significant shifts in how we gather and interpret cosmic data. Very soon now, 3i Atlas will disappear behind our sun's overwhelming glare, temporarily hidden from observation. But when it re-emerges in December, the world will be waiting with telescopes realigned and data systems prepared. Information will pour in from observatories spanning every continent. And perhaps if we're extraordinarily fortunate, that institutional silence we've discussed will finally break. The pressure of global attention, the weight of independent verification, the sheer volume of data pouring in from multiple sources may force transparency where bureaucratic caution previously prevailed. Until that moment arrives, we must do what science has always demanded of us throughout history. We must remain patient while data accumulates. We must remain appropriately skeptical of extraordinary claims, and crucially, we must remain intellectually open to possibilities that challenge our comfortable assumptions. The universe operates under absolutely no obligation to conform to our expectations or fit neatly within our existing categories. It simply is what it is. And sometimes, just sometimes, it leaves a mysterious green trail streaking through the darkness to remind us that the greatest discoveries never arrive packaged with convenient answers. They arrive bearing better, more profound questions that push the boundaries of human understanding. Because ultimately, whether 3i Atlas proves to be a fragment of alien geology torn from some distant planetary system, or whether it represents something far more intentional, something deliberately sent across the void between stars, it carries with it the same precious gift. The opportunity to see ourselves once again as beginners, standing at the threshold of cosmic mysteries. And perhaps, just perhaps, the chance to recognize ourselves as participants in a conversation far larger than we ever imagined. A conversation written not in human words, but in the elegant motion of celestial bodies dancing through the infinite arena of space and time. The green flash, the synchronized companions, the impossible structural integrity, the early water vapor emissions, the institutional silence, the historical patterns of withholding information, all of these elements weave together into a tapestry that demands our attention. We stand at a crossroads in human history where the evidence, however circumstantial, however incomplete, points toward possibilities that our ancestors could only dream about. The question before us now isn't whether 3i Atlas is extraordinary. The observations have already confirmed that beyond reasonable doubt. The question is whether we possess the intellectual courage to follow the evidence wherever it leads, regardless of how uncomfortable that destination might be. Science thrives on uncertainty. It flourishes in the space between what we know and what we don't yet understand. That space is where discovery lives, where paradigm shifts originate, where humanity's understanding of reality fundamentally transforms. 3i Atlas may represent nothing more than an unusual comet with peculiar properties we've simply never encountered before, but it may also represent something far more significant. It may represent a message, a probe, a deliberate visitation, or simply evidence that the universe is far stranger and more populated than our current models suggest. Whatever the ultimate truth proves to be, we cannot afford to let fear silence our curiosity. We cannot permit institutional caution to override scientific integrity. We cannot accept comfortable lies when uncomfortable truths demand investigation. The cosmos has presented us with a mystery wrapped inside an enigma, delivered by an object that refuses to behave according to our expectations. And in that refusal lies the greatest gift the universe can offer to a species finally mature enough to look upward and truly see. The observations will continue, the data will accumulate. The truth, whatever it may be, will eventually emerge from the darkness. And when it does, humanity will face a moment of profound reckoning, a moment where we must finally answer the question that has haunted our species since we first gazed upward at the stars. Are we truly alone, or have we simply been waiting for the right moment, the right signal, the right mysterious green flash to remind us that we've never been alone at all? The universe is speaking. The question is whether we're finally ready to listen.